A very good morning. Today I am going to teach you about acid, base and salt of chapter number 3. Now let us start. On the basis of the chemical properties, all the compounds can be classified into 3 groups. The first one is acid, second one is base and the third one is salt. Acids. Acids are those chemical substances which have a sour taste. In acids there are 2 main kinds. The first one is organic acid. The acid present in plants, material and animals are called organic acid. For example, acetic acid, it is found in vinegar. Citric acid, it is found in citrus fruits such as lemons and oranges. The second type of acid is inorganic acid, and it is also known as mineral acids. The acid prepared from the minerals of the earth are called mineral acid. For example, hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, etc. Now let us discuss the other groups of compound based on their chemical properties. The second one is base. Base are those chemical substances which have a bitter taste. Most of the bases do not dissolve in water, but some bases dissolve in water. Those bases which dissolve in water is called an alkali. The third group is salt. Salt are compounds formed by the reaction of acid and base. This reaction is known as neutralization reaction. Now, let us discuss about the indicator for tasting acid and base. Firstly, we have to define indicator. An indicator is a dye that changes color when it is put into an acid or a base. For example, methyl orange. Methyl orange indicator gives yellow color in basic solution and red color in acid solution. Next is phenolphthalein indicator. Phenolphthalein indicator is colorless in acid solution and give pink color in basic solution. And blue litmus give red color in acidic solution and red litmus give blue color in basic solution. Olfactory indicators. Those substances whose smell or odor changes in acidic or basic solution are called olfactory indicators. For example, onion and vanilla extracts. Now let us discuss about the properties of acid. First one is acid solution conduct electricity. Second one is acids react with metal to form hydrogen gas. Let us discuss about this. When an acid reacts with a metal, then a salt and hydrogen gas are formed. That is, in short form, we can write as metal plus acid to form salt plus hydrogen gas. For example, when dilute sulfuric acid react with zinc metal, then zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas are formed. That zinc sulfate is the salt. Third one is acid react with metal carbonates and metal hydrogen carbonates. When acid reacts with a metal carbonate or metal hydrogen carbonate, then a salt, carbon dioxide gas and water are formed. That is, in short form, metal carbonate plus acid to form salt plus carbon dioxide plus water, and metal hydrogen carbonate plus acid to form salt plus carbon dioxide plus water. For example, when dilute hydrochloric acid react with sodium carbonate, then sodium chloride, carbon dioxide and water are formed. And when dilute hydrochloric acid react with sodium hydrogen carbonate, then sodium chloride, carbon dioxide and water are formed. When this carbon dioxide, that is, we obtain from the reaction of carbonate and hydrogen carbonate, this carbon dioxide is passed through lime water. The lime water turns milky due to the formation of a white precipitate of calcium carbonate. We write the equation as CaOH2 plus CO2 to form CaCO3 plus H2O. That CaCO3 is the calcium carbonate. We found it as white PPT. If excess of carbon dioxide gases passes through lime water, then the white precipitate form first dissolve due to the formation of a soluble salt calcium hydrogen carbonate, and the solution become clear again. We write it The equation is CaCO3 plus CO2 plus H2O to form CaHCO3 2. The fourth property is acids react with bases or alkalis to form salt and water. When an acid reacts with a base, then a salt and water are formed. In short form, we can write as acid plus base to form salt plus water. The reaction between an acid and a base to form salt and water is called a neutralization reaction. For example, sodium hydroxide plus hydrochloric acid. That sodium hydroxide is the base and hydrochloric acid is the acid. To form sodium chloride plus water, that sodium chloride is the salt. The fifth property is acid reacts with metal oxide to form salt and water. Acids react with metal oxide to form salt and water. In short form, we can write as metal oxide plus acid to form salt and water. For example, copper oxide plus hydrochloric acid to form copper chloride plus water. The reaction between acids and metal oxide to form salt and water is similar to the neutralization reaction between an acid and a base to form salt and water. Thus, the reaction between acids and metal oxide is a kind of neutralization reaction. It shows the basic nature of metal oxides. Now let us discuss about the properties of base. The first property is base react with some metals to form hydrogen gas. When a base react with a metal, then a metal salt and hydrogen gas are formed. For example, sodium hydroxide plus zinc to form sodium zincate plus hydrogen. It is very important to note that all the metals do not react with bases to form salt and hydrogen gas. The second property for base is bases react with acids to form salt and water. When a base reacts with an acid, then a salt and water are formed. For example, sodium hydroxide plus sulfuric acid to form sodium sulfate plus water. And the third property is bases react with nonmetal oxide to form salt and water. In short form, we can write as nonmetal oxide plus base to form salt plus water. For example, calcium hydroxide plus carbon dioxide to form calcium carbonate plus water. The reaction of nonmetal oxide with base to form salt and water show that nonmetal oxides are acidic in nature. The fourth property is acid react with bases or alkalis to form salt and water. When an acid reacts with a base, then a salt and water are formed. In short, we can write as acid plus base to form salt plus water. The reaction between an acid and a base to form salt and water is called a neutralization reaction. For example, sodium hydroxide plus hydrochloric acid. That sodium hydroxide is the base and hydrochloric acid is the acid. That base and that acid react to form sodium chloride plus water is formed. That sodium chloride is the salt. The fifth property is acid react with metal oxide to form salt and water. Acids react with metal oxide to form salt and water. In short, we can write as metal oxide plus acid to form salt plus water. For example, copper oxide plus hydrochloric acid to form copper chloride plus water. The reaction between acid and metal oxide to form salt and water is similar to the neutralization reaction between an acid and a base to form salt and water. Thus, the reaction between acids and metal oxide is a kind of neutralization reaction. It shows the basic nature of metal oxides.